This year we are celebrating 75 years of our independence. On 15th August 2022, we are going to celebrate our Independence Day for the 76th time. Year after year, in the same month, on the same date, we assemble together, we gather together to celebrate, to mark this historical event. But the important question is why there is a need to celebrate, to mark this historical event again and again? Why can't we simply close the chapter of the past, work towards the future? We will try to find the answer of this question by comparing two revolutions which took place in two different eras and in two different countries. I am talking about French Revolution, which took place in 1789, and Indian independence movement, which culminated on 15th August 1947. Before we try to find the answer of the question, it is important to understand that a revolution, be it of any size or amplitude, is not a product of one day. It is an outcome of a long journey. Similarly, when we talk about the French Revolution, we will find that most of the factors which contributed directly to the French Revolution were already present in the France. For example, the French society of that era, of the 1789, was divided into three classes. At the top were royals, followed by aristocrats, and at the bottom of the society were languishing the common masses. With the rapid industrialization and colonization, a new class developed and became very powerful. It was bourgeoisie, or the business people. Now, slowly and gradually, when they started to accumulate social as well as economic wealth, the confrontation between aristocrats and bourgeois started. Bourgeois class wanted to have more say in political structure too. However, the present political establishment didn't allow them to have equal representation. As a result, they challenged and wanted to create a new kind of establishment. On the other hand, another social factor was the big population. With the rapid growth in science and technology, the population in France increased multifold. As a result, there were more mouths to feed and less to distribute. And the biggest sufferer were the common masses. They too joined Republicans and challenged the established political establishment. After many violent episodes, the monarchy tumbled and the first republic was established in France. On the other hand, though India achieved its independence on 15th August 1947, its independence movement is too an outcome of a long journey, a very long journey which lasted almost 200 years. It would be an illusion to think that Indians readily accepted British Empire. In fact, the fight started as soon as they arrived in India. The early forms of wars were fought between Britishers and Indian rulers who wanted to protect their empire from a foreign country. Later on, there was also a mutiny from Indian sepoys in 1857, which we call and describe as the First War of Independence. Moreover, tribals too in different patches of the country protested against land reforms. Though these protests and revolts failed to have a profound impact on British Empire, they contributed significantly in Indian independence movement. They did something more important. They provided a ray of hope, a hope that the mighty British Empire can be overthrown. Yes, I am talking about the same British Empire about which it was once famously said, "Sun never sets on British Empire." These revolts also gave another important and valuable lesson, that it was imperative for Indian masses to forget the differences based on religion, culture, and languages and to come together to attain one common objective, that was independence. Later on, we see how Indian masses coming from different class, caste, and religions fought together and achieved their objective, a complete independence from British Empire. There were great poets, writers, freedom fighters such as the great Tamil poet Bhartiyar, who through his poems tried to unite the people to fight collectively against British Empire. Now let's come back to the question with which we started. What is the need to celebrate these historical events year after year? Why can't we simply forget the past, work on the present, and look towards the future? There are three primary reasons to celebrate historical events year after year. Primarily, because past is that backbone or base on which our present is built. One ceases to exist, whether it is an individual or a nation, if he or it forgets its past. The French philosopher René Descartes said, "Je pense donc je suis." I think, therefore I am. Or I think, therefore I exist. In order to exist, we need to remember our historical events. So if we don't remember our past, we will not exist. Secondly, if a society or a country does not learn from those historical events, it is doomed to repeat those historical mistakes. Karl Marx said, history repeats itself, first as a tragedy, second as a farce. So, if a society fails to learn those valuable lessons from any historical calamity or tragedy, it is a farce on it. Therefore, we have to be very cautious of those historical events. Britishers, when they came to India, their number was very minuscule, but still they managed to rule such a vast expanse of land. Why? By using a very creative but destructive method of divide and rule. They created the Indian society in the name of religion and languages. Those fault lines are still visible in our society, and if we don't learn from what happened to India due to these fault lines, these divisions, we will again fail to work together, to progress together as a united country. Therefore, it is very important to remember those historical events and learn from them. Thirdly, a very important political lesson that we can learn by comparing these two revolutions, these two movements, is that merely having or organizing a revolution does not suffice. It is more important to be cautious and conscious of what comes later. Protecting independence is much important. The presence of number of failed democracies is an example. If we don't protect our independence, we will too fail. That is why we have to remember, we have to commemorate those historical events and get valuable lessons by celebrating them. That is why year after year, in the same month, on the same date, we remember those freedom fighters who sacrificed their life to give us the freedom which we enjoy now.